Hello, and welcome to the Vergecast.
Wow.
I did it. I did the whole thing. That's the whole show.
Wow.
I opened it well.
Let's go.
It was really good. And that's it. I think that's the best we've ever done. Hello, it's September 17th. This is the Vergecast.
My brother's birthday. Happy birthday,
Wow.
Kip.
Happy birthday.
That's important. That was Dieter. He was
Yeah.
wishing his brother happy birthday. So Dieter's here. But then everything else is... I'm Nilay. I'm also here. Then everything else is different. Get ready to come through a portal. It's kind of like a podcast mashup today based on what's going on. So joining us today is Farhad Manjoo from the New York Times.
Hey.
You
Hi.
may know Farhad from the New York Times. Also from Twitter, where I believe Farhad maintains one of the longest running Twitter personas in media history.
People call it a persona. It's actually me. It's the real me.
It's the real
on
you.
Twitter. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm interested in diving into that.
Okay,
The,
cool.
the notion of a Twitter persona is very, very compelling to me. And then, so this is what I mean by mashup. Farhad has his own great podcast called The Jay and Farhad Show with Jay Yarrow from Business Insider, where
Yes.
they come together and their media organizations do not fight, but instead collaborate
Right.
to create a content explosion. And that podcast was produced until recently because we hired her. It was produced by Kirsten Frisina.
Wow. No.
Kirsten.
Good try.
Kirsten.
Damn it.
Kirsten Frisina.
Damn it, I was talking too fast. I was trying to get the
No, I messed up.
I was
that
trying to
name
get the
on our
last name
podcast,
right,
too.
and I blew the first name.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been perfect on the first name this whole time, and I've never had to say it.
If you listen to the podcast instead of watching it on YouTube or live, you are missing out on a very decked out hype desk. For
Yeah,
Kirsten.
there's something.
Yeah.
It's
been
kind of like a
upgraded.
college football hype desk.
Is that not how it normally is?
No. So I'll explain this.
Okay.
There's a reason she's over there.
Okay.
It's not.
It's because
not
Nilay
a-
likes old timey radio.
It's not a great reason, but we'll get into it. So Kirsten just joined us at The Verge. We took her away from Farhad.
Yes.
But now Farhad is here as well, so we brought them back together. But Kirsten's here. You might, if you're on our Snapchat channel, you see her multiple times a day. If you are looking at any of our social media accounts, you see her many times a day. Kirsten's here to engage with you, the audience.
Can I just say one more thing? We recorded our podcast today, just the more media mashup, the Jay and Farhad Show, and our guest was Casey Johnson, who's from the All and Wirecutter.
Yeah.
And so I've experienced every media organization today.
That's good.
In a single day.
Are there ones that you are not allowed to, like, as a New York
Oh, the
Times
Times
reporter? Are you like not allowed to go to the Journal?
Yeah,
Like, there's like-
I
there's
bet
like-
there's probably the Journal in Bloomberg. I don't know. No one's the Journal. If the Journal does a podcast, I will be on their podcast.
I just like the idea that you're allowed to like hang with us, but then there's definitely a level at which like there's like Times police shadowing
Yeah.
you, and you're like, no, Farhad,
No.
can't go in the building. Anyway, so Kirsten's out here. So Farhad, let me just explain to you the concept here.
Sure.
It's not a great concept, but one that we've been going with. So here on the Vergecast, we generally talk about the news. And so that's what happens here at this desk. And then that desk is the hype desk. That's the concept. She's in the hype seat.
Yes.
And what we do from time to time is, as we're discussing news, new products, new things, new ideas, we hype check them to know how much hype. It's a formula in my head.
There's a hype formula.
Yeah.
Which is hype versus reality over time,
Uh-huh.
which complicated. Really, it's expressed on 1 to 10 scale. So, like, for example, Kirsten, hype check the new iPhone.
It's like an 8.
Yeah, see?
an 8.
And we just do that from time to time.
So 8 is what?
8 is high.
It's
10
pretty
is
high.
like
That
the
means
top.
it's pretty hypey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like there's like a high level
People
of
are
hype
pretty
against it.
hypey.
People are excited for it.
I see. Okay.
And
About
it's
the
got
rose
but
gold?
over time, the hype might,
It'll probably dissipate.
because
Yeah.
then it'll just be the iPhone.
Right. Okay.
So you
right.
see what I'm saying? But then who's ever in that seat also is allowed to just interject at will. So really, it's just
Okay.
chaos. And I just
I
want somebody
saw
to-
I saw one of these where Casey Newton was there. So
Oh, yeah. The Skype seat. Is
yes,
what I called it
that-
last
yeah.
week. I was very proud of myself.
Yeah, it was good. It's a good rhyme.
Oh,
there-
man, you're just cold. Stone
It's a
cold.
good rhyme.
That is
It's good
very
rhyme. We're
good.
moving on.
Well, what else is there to say?
nothing.
Hype check that rhyme.
Wow.
2.
Yo, burned.
right.
Wow.
Rough all around. So there's a bunch of stuff to talk about this week. I think we should start with what has sort of been blowing up today, and then I think when we have new people on the show, I really like to just do State of the Union and talk about how tech is just doing across the board instead of like really diving in granularly.
Okay.
So we should do that a little bit too. But let's start with a thing that blew up our site today, which is that yesterday iOS 9 came out. Have you upgraded iOS 9?
I I've been using the beta, so maybe I don't think I think I'm still on the beta.
Right.
Yeah, if you're on the beta and you're caught up, you should be fine. Like it's not.
I don't think I actually
different.
have pulled the last lever for the public one.
The public one is what I have on my phone, and it has the same bug that was in the beta, which is if you go search in settings, the next time you open settings, it will freeze and you got to quit it.
I noticed several. I mean, the one really weird thing is that I just get phantom vibrations.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, and it hasn't not tied to a notification. It just sort of buzzes.
Huh.
Well, I think it might be because the notifications are like more granular.
Yeah, it may be that I haven't I don't know what notification is triggering it, and I don't know how to turn it off because I don't know which one. But
Right, I get random mail sounds.
yeah,
It's just like all of a sudden it's like mail.app is like, you know what? I did get some email. And it's like, why don't you, which one
Give
is
me
that?
more info?
I would love to just, it's just like a happy little, anyway, so with iOS 9, it came out. We put up a big review of it. It's great. It's iOS 9.
It's like iOS but better.
It's like it's kind of like iOS but Android, right? In many ways, like they switched the app launcher to it looks much more like the Android app launcher. They've finally the notifications are in reverse chronological order, which is
how
it's so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything about my life is full of happiness and joy. And then, of course, the thing that is really happening is that the app developers have to support it. So there's a bunch of Apple stuff that's better. Like Spotlight is better.
Yeah.
Siri is marginally better. But if you have an iPhone, you should update because you have to. So it's kind of like, it got better. It's going to be fine. But the big feature of iOS 9 that everyone's sort of talking about today, and I published a piece about today as well, is that it supports content blocking in Safari, which is actually expressed by people writing ad blockers so you can ad block on the web.
Wait, do we know what kind of non-ad, what is the sort of non-ad block thing
what
that
if you
could
just
do?
hate cats?
Yeah,
just
block
can't stand
cat content.
felines.
Yeah, just anything cat.gif.
Yeah.
Like, screw this, I'm out.
Okay. No, content blocker is a very euphemistic term that they came up with.
Well, and the crazy thing is, one of the arguments going on is, there's been ad blocking on desktop for years. This isn't a big change. It's just normal. But ad blocking on desktop browsers, it comes through extensions, and they're called add-ons or extensions or whatever. And then you get an ad blocker that way. On mobile Safari, they didn't say, you can do extensions now. They've got their other little bits for doing that they introduced in iOS 8. No, they explicitly have a section called content blocker built into it.
Right.
Which is different than what we've seen before.
Well, so my theory is that Apple is like, you can now do this thing, but we're not going to do it. We'll let third-party developers do it. And there's a rush of them out. Marco Arment, who was a guy who started Instapaper and then sold it, but he started it. He just put out one called Peace. It's $3. Yeah. It's one of the top grossing apps in the App Store today. Mm-hmm. There's another one called Purify, which is also doing very well.
Very popular.
Free.
Yeah. That's the one I got.
Yeah, I'm running Peace.
Okay.
Just figured I'd try it out. I gotta say, the web's really fast. Everyone's poor now.
Works well.
But we're all moving much faster than before. Apple's rich. Everyone else very poor. So yeah, it's unclear what else you would be blocking, but they've built the system for people to be able to block ads, and then people took advantage of it. And in my estimation, that is Apple kind of being like...
Well, Apple couldn't release its own ad blocker. That would have been a direct fight with Google.
Why?
I mean, they could. They could have. I'm saying sort of politically, and there's no sort of marketing reason for them to enter that fight very explicitly. It's the way that they sued Samsung instead of suing Google. They can get ad blocking, which hurts their competitor, improves their user interface, makes their customers happy. But it's just like another app on they do it through third parties. They allow developers to do it, and they leave the choice ultimately up to users who are obviously going to do it.
Right. So you've written about ad blocking, and then I wrote today. And so just to quickly do mine, and then I want to talk to you about your piece. Because you have that optimistic view.
Yes.
I have the much more sort of dark...
I'm just a writer on and I work for a place that gets a lot of revenue from print.
I mean, everything about this conversation has made me nostalgic. I'm like, we should just start a print magazine, tomorrow. It'd be great. No one's going to sit around with scissors at the mail depot, cutting my ads out before we mail the stuff out.
Well, the other thing we should say before we talk about this is that we are all biased in various ways. We're all compromise here. So,
Well, I'm biased in favor of having a salary.
yes,
And then using that salary to purchase food and then eat it and then remaining alive. I don't know about you. What your
I like money and food. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Somebody told me that somebody tweeted me that they were paying us in mindshare.
Oh,
It's like it's going to be very difficult for me to pay the rent in New York City with mindshare.
I'm gonna go to the deli after the podcast is over and see if they take Wuffy.
Yeah, no, that's actually really funny. That's the Cory Doctorow reference, right?
Yeah,
from that Down Out in the Magic Kingdom. That's it. Anyway, we won't fall down that rabbit hole. But so the context here, yes, we're biased, and I think this is one of those moments where the media industry and the tech industry are colliding, and things will change because of it. But in almost every one of those times, the tech industry has won, right? Like revenue has shifted from media to tech, right? So Google built YouTube by basically stealing videos from people until Viacom gave up. And now Google controls an enormous amount of media power and money, and the other media companies are ever so smaller. And that's just one. The music industry is the same way. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so you can run these ad blockers now in iOS 9. You could obviously have run them. It's funny, on the flip side, ad blocking on the desktop has gotten really popular because of Chrome. So literally the rates of ad blocking on desktop track along with Chrome installs.
Yeah.
Obviously Google runs Chrome. But my point is that Apple's pulling farther and farther away from Google. And iOS 9 is a collection of things that are kind of direct attacks on Google. So they don't call it Spotlight anymore, but search in iOS 9 now lets you search. It runs on Bing. You can search inside of apps. Google obviously can't read inside of apps on your phone.
They can.
They can, they can't.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody has to build the right hooks for the right people.
Right.
It's not the web where it just like crawls
Well, and
away.
the way to and you have to use like Google's app to do it, and like Apple just has a much more streamlined way of doing it. So
Right. So they've got that. They've got obviously the content blocker, which again to me is kind of like we open this door.
Yeah.
Will anyone walk through it? Like it's a very
There's candy inside.
and just this sort of this collection of
and Apple News.
Apple News, right? And so. And in general, like in Apple News, so they're pulling publishers away from the revenue platform of the web, where Google runs the dominant ad server for publishers called DoubleClick for Publishers, DFP, and then all the crappy ads that follow you around, the network ads, they run Ad Exchange, which runs those two. Mm-hmm. So you can take all the money away from Google's platforms and then say to publishers, well, but you can be here in Apple News, and no one will be able to block your ads here.
Right.
So Apple News has ads in it. Apple News will track you. You can put the tracking beacons in Apple News. You absolutely can. And it's funny. I was like, nobody cares about this today.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason people don't care about, first of all, very few people have used Apple News, but Facebook is sort of an analog to it, and I think the reason people don't care about it is because the UI is not bad. Like, as long you worry about things like tracking and stuff, if you see the pop up and then you feel like, oh, what's happening there, but if you don't see it and it works well and it works fast, then I think you might not. I think the whole they're tracking me is just kind of a proxy for bad experience generally.
Right.
Yeah.
And that Ghost Ray pop up, people have been screenshotting and sending me all day. Like you look at the list and it's like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and then one ad server and Chartbeat.
Yeah.
And it's like you're only mad because and they're like 13 pop-ups. I'm like, it's just Google and Facebook. Like it's the buttons that let you log into our site using Google and Facebook and Twitter.
Right.
So I think you're right. And I think all the conversation that is about performance, we're going to make the web faster by stripping out all this crap we don't like. And that's cloaked inside of tracking. And I think that's fine. I honestly, my big take on it is that sites like The Verge, big companies will be fine because we make stuff that people want, and Apple's not going to start a content company. Right. So we have media executives who work here. The New York Times has media executives who work here. I don't know what they do. They go away, they wear suits, they come back, they have deals.
Yeah, they have deals with Facebook and Apple, and then all your content's in there, and we'll be fine. Yeah,
we have the resources to remake our content into all of these insane native native news app platform systems. Can't talk today. So we can do that, and then everything else will just be I don't know. You can stick an RSS feed into Apple News, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine. And then there's Facebook Instant Articles. So that's me, right? I think The Verge will be fine, but I think that other companies, smaller publishers that rely on we're going to make great content with a bunch of friends and glue in some ad code and that'll pay for everything, they're doomed.
Okay.
So that's where I want to get, because you are much more optimistic.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's a very valid argument that they will be doomed because of ad blocking. I just don't know if the alternative is that they'll survive anyway. Like if people don't get ad blocking today, Facebook Instant Articles is still going to come along, and the web. And so if you think that the web, like, to me, the web is like a usability nightmare. Like every time I click a link, I get served some weird pop-up, and it's slow, and it just doesn't feel like the kind of environment that is like going to successfully compete against something like Facebook Instant Articles or Apple News if it's better. So over time, it seems like inevitable that people will either migrate to those other platforms, or they'll stay with the web, and the web will be bad. And like, I think.
But where is the web bad for you? The web is bad on your phone.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right. The web is not bad on desktop. And I think this is like, I wrote a piece a while ago that was like, there are no apps on the desktop. Like apps on desktop are not outside of like Photoshop, right? Like major professional productivity
the web
apps.
is what you use on your desktop, right?
Right, because the experience is really good.
Right.
And then on the phone, and this is kind of like this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried that Apple, because they have dominance in the phone, they're squeezing the web ever so tightly to get people onto their platform and under their control.
But do you disagree that the web is bad on your phone? Like it feels like an experience that should be better, and everything we know about how people use digital things is like they like fast, right? Like and everything that's faster, even marginally faster, feels better if it feels more responsive. More people use it, and it just doesn't seem like clicking on a link and waiting 10 seconds for the thing to load up, and then like clicking 3 things before it loads up is going to be like a survivable environment.
I don't know, man. I just went to the Apple event. You were at that Apple event. They're like, the new iPhone 6s has a desktop class processor and console class graphics and the fastest LTE that's ever been made, and the Wi-Fi will definitely run you over with speed. And like, these phones are ultra power. They're more powerful than the PCs that ushered in the web revolution to begin with, and much faster in terms of network speed.
I think you have a screen size thing though, right?
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, the pop-up covers like but 30% of the screen, and then you have to like hit a small button to close it. And it's not like those pop-up ads on web pages are not like on terrible sites. They're on like the big reputable sites.
But we're setting up a false dichotomy here, right? Either you have to go and live in Apple's proprietary garden, or you have to live with, the web's terrible, shitty
Do you think
design
there's a
pop-up.
middle ground?
Fix the web.
How do you fix
or open up the Apple's thing?
So that's my argument about content blocking, or ad blocking.
Right.
It's not called content
Let's call it ad blocking.
We should really, if you're listening to this and you would like to write us a content blocker that blocks some other content, if you want to block everything on The Verge but the ads, like I would love to just see that product. Like, what does that
I would
look
pay
like?
you $2.99 for that product, actually.
But so I think that if a whole lot of people, maybe not all, because it would be bad if everyone adopted ad blocking, but if a whole bunch of people adopted ad blocking, I think it would force advertisers and other big people who create this like publishing and environment on the web to do better. Like there could be standards.
The incentives aren't that clear cut, because if more people are blocking ads, then the incentive is like, well, shit, we have fewer people. We need to ramp up how terrible the ads are. And the second thing is, if you're right that blocking more ads will incent advertisers to clean up their act and finally serve nice ads, once someone turns on ad blocking, it's on and they don't go back. And so that's the problem with people, yell at us like, you're part of the problem. Your ads suck. It's like, yeah, we're working on making it better, but I kid you not, if we make our ads perfect and beautiful and fast, and they'll never annoy you on The Verge, like we're still like we fixed our house, but the neighborhood's still on fire.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's a tragedy of the commons problem, right? You suffer because there's some other site out there that has no scruples and will run terrible ads.
Right.
People turn on ad blocking because of that, and then even if you have great ads. But okay, so there are these companies that are marketing themselves to publishers to like circumvent ad blocking, and the way they do it is they serve kinds of ads, like served through different protocols that aren't blocked by ad blockers. Like you could imagine that there's some kind of like tech arms race. Maybe the publishers won't win that arms race, but that kind of get around the ad blockers with better ads.
So that's what I'm most worried about. Like, again, in the darkest timeline, which is where I live, the way that ad blockers are pretty brutally simple product, right? It's
They
just
block servers, right?
Yeah, it's just a list of servers you don't want to load from. So like, it doesn't matter where you load it from, right? Like it's just there. So one way to do it is to move all the stuff onto the Verge's core CDN and then load it from there.
Then it all looks like content.
And it's all great content. But I think the real move is something that's already happening in the industry, because on desktop, ad blocking has been real and people have been dealing with it, which is to really start blending editorial and advertising. And like doing it, I think, like, for example, The Verge is really big, and so our sales team sits in a different part of the office and we don't talk to them, and there's a native content group that makes that stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't really talk to them. So that's fine. And the New York Times has the same thing, and every big publisher has that. If you're a smaller site and Samsung's like, hey,
I mean, the Samsung's new software design is
like
as
2
crisp
seconds.
and refreshing as a Fresca. That's going to be my review.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
wait, is that an ad for Samsung or Fresca?
That's what I'm saying.
It's both.
Which one
You
is it?
get multiple.
Well, it's funny because in like 2 seconds we're going to do the Squarespace ad. Whatever, Squarespace. It's crisp and refreshing as a Fresca. And it's as well designed as a Samsung. Wait, is that a burn? Like, I don't even know. What is that? What is real? What is fake? What is reality? No, but that's it, right? And you see it right now on, like, for example, on YouTube, right? There's tons of like people on YouTube who have big audiences. They want to monetize it. They click the button and Google will sell them some ads. But then on the side, they'll be like, I just got this phone for free, or, whatever. Like the FTC had to crack down on mommy bloggers because they were all doing products for free. Like you see how the money can flow into that seemingly editorial content, and you can't block that. You just absolutely can't.
Right.
And that is, I think that's the danger, right? The money isn't going away.
So, but it's still a danger mainly for small sites, right? And maybe the future of, like, as sort of terrible as it sounds to say this, like, maybe there is going to be less room for the small sites than there was in the and it's not like publishing a small publishing empire was easy in like the print era too. It's always been a difficult thing to like have a small publication, and it may have been that we just had like a decade and a half of like the open web, and then the web turns into something like TV. Like I think that's a plausible end for digital content, and it will be terrible in some ways, but we also, I mean, there are sites like BuzzFeed that pay for a lot of journalists, and have native content as ads, and that is a plausible model for the future, and it wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I think I've said this on the show 100 times. Like, I think the most interesting companies in media right now are BuzzFeed, Vice, and Vox, and like, I happen to work at one of those, so I think that's dope. But the New York Times also great.
It works out.
huge. Like, but in terms of like being the innovative big digital companies, I think those are the three. But BuzzFeed's entire bet is on how do we learn how to make viral content and then sell that ability to advertisers. Right. That looks exactly like BuzzFeed content. There's rarely a difference. Casey Johnson, who we were just talking about, wrote a great piece, and it was like the ultimate expression of this is a Friskies ad that BuzzFeed made that's basically indistinguishable from something else.
With like 25 million views.
Right. And so I would be okay if the future of like journalism on the web was part of the journalistic enterprise is like a bunch of people who are essentially running like a creative ad agency, are creating Friskies ads. It's sort of like what TV does, right? TV has entertainment, and then they fund a news operation. Like, it works out.
Yeah, it does. I don't know. It's
not what we think of as, it's not the like utopian, like everyone publishes stuff and makes money vision of the web, like the Anil Dash vision of the web from like 15 years ago. But maybe that was a little bit optimistic.
I don't know. I mean, like, here's what I worry about. And I think about this a lot. Like, Matt Iglesias wrote this on Vox, which was Apple got saved by the web browser. Right?
Yes.
Like, the Apple Mac OS X would not have been a viable product if the web didn't explode in popularity, and Apple spent all of its time desperately trying to make the experience of the web better on a Mac than it was on the PC, which is why they did Safari, and then they did Safari for Windows, which is crazy, and then they like turned that into their other business.
Right.
And now Apple is in that Microsoft position.
Yeah.
And there's no other thing that looks like the web to help challenge that position, which I think is like, that's what scares me. It's not it's not about like I'm a believer in, obviously in like the open web, in the idea that there are no gatekeepers between human beings and each other because of this one piece of technology. And like,
well, but when we say the open web, like it's the open web that's controlled by Google. I mean,
how is it controlled by Google? It's well monetized.
It's monetized by Google. Okay, it's monetized by Google. So we're really talking about a platform that's run by Google. Like Google makes the browser that people use to access content that Google monetizes. Like it is Google's playground.
Yeah.
And so, it's open in the sense that like Google is not blocking any kind of content on the web. You can create a website and be completely free of Google in a way that you can't create an app and be completely free of Apple.
Right.
But if you want to start making money on this platform, like you're going to have to at some point go through Google or compete with them, and they're in the way because they're making the browser like.
Or you could, I don't know, set up a paywall and have people pay. And there's like there are other ways to monetize the web than just Google. It's just Google is the most dominant ways to monetize the web. Whereas I think with Apple, there are very few ways to get on the iOS platform and play there unless you directly deal with Apple as a partner.
Right. I mean, you have to go through their approval process, and you have to, if you have content they don't like, you won't be allowed in the store. And right, the walls are higher in this garden.
Okay, Kirsten.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like I should just let you hype check this entire situation.
No, yeah.
You're much younger than we are.
Yeah, my main question is like it seems like everyone's been talking about ad blockers today as if 100% of people are going to turn them on, and like. Outside of this office, I don't know anyone who has an ad blocker.
I think 100% of people are going to turn them on.
I would argue.
Really?
Or let's say at least 40 to 60.
Here's what I'll say.
I'd say around 50%. Yeah.
I think that it's too hard of a thing for normals to set up. And
if you just
when
get
it
an app.
breaks,
Yeah, but people said that about Chrome.
Yeah,
the rates of desktop Chrome ad blocking are like out of control.
Yeah.
Like, it is
And it's easier on mobile, I think, than Chrome. A lot of people don't know about add-ons for Chrome. Everyone knows about getting apps, and that's what you do. Like it's as simple as getting an app. The app shows you like which button to press to turn it on, and then you do it.
Yeah,
and
but if you're not in tech, you don't know. Like nobody who's not in tech knows about this.
If one of these ad blockers hangs out at the top of the most popular app list for a while.
No,
normal people don't open their app store every day. Like,
that's true. The average number of apps on a phone is 0.
Yeah, no, but if we're talking about normal people, honestly,
I will say
I think
this.
the setup's just going to be.
I will say this. I think most of the ad blockers I've used have a simpler interface than Candy Crush. Like Candy Crush is like a fucking Byzantine crazy ass. Like, what is going on? Like a clown yells at you like what? Have you heard of I just started playing it. This is like where I am in life. Okay. There's a clown who yells at you in Candy Crush.
No.
Well, he's like it's not a clown. It's a scary thing that I choose not to look at directly.
I've never played Candy Crush.
I mean,
it's Bejeweled, but with screaming. I don't know. It's like a very confusing thing.
No, I think it's going to be the kind of thing where people are like a few, early adopters will get it at first, but over time, you'll meet someone and they'll be like, "Hey, why aren't you running ad blocking? Like you pay for data, your phone is like significantly faster. Like there's no downside to it to get it. Like,
yeah, no, I think a lot of people, but I will say, and this is actually the funniest stat, today of all days, when it's like everyone's turning it on, the thing's rocketing up, our rates of ad blocking are lower than an average day today. So usually about 25% of the Verge's pages are ad blocked, and today it's 20, and I actually don't know why.
I mean, it's probably, I wonder if people whitelisted you. Because, on desktop, because this conversation has gone on.
Oh my God, that'd be incredible. Yeah. People are like, I'm turning on my phone, but turning off my desktop.
I mean, we did recently change the Verge so that ads load after the rest of the page. So, like, our total page load time hasn't gone down too much, but our time to, you can scroll and look at the content is really fast now.
Yeah, I mean, there's 100 people on our product team at Vox Media, right? Like they are reading the stuff and they care about it's like they've been rapidly trying to make it better because they obviously care. But it's just fun. I think this conversation is fascinating because in many ways, this is the moment when I think the web goes from this like playground of innovation where all of the money is flowing into it because building stuff on the web lets you get access to everyone to kind of what the hell is going to happen here, Google, you better fix it. And all of the money starts really flowing into the Apple ecosystem because that's where people are. And that to me is, and Facebook, quite honestly. Like Facebook is basically the answer for all the small publishers we're talking about.
Yeah.
Facebook's going to show up and say, you can pay us for placement or use instant articles or buy promoted Facebook. They're going to make a product that says, we're going to save you.
I'm going back to Gopher.
The web is over. And on that terrible note, let's talk about building websites together.
Wow.
Great transition.
With Squarespace. Building a website can be tough and potentially doom you to a life of pain and poverty. But even if you know your way around coding, it's going to be hard. But if you want to just make something that looks good and works well, you should use Squarespace. Whether it's for a business site, a portfolio, a restaurant, or whatever else, in this day and age, you probably need a website. For at least a little bit longer. Well, lucky for us, Squarespace makes it easy to build beautiful websites without breaking a sweat. Squarespace provides powerful, simple, and beautiful websites that look professionally designed regardless of skill level, no coding required. Not only does Squarespace provide you with intuitive and easy-to-use tools to create your website with, Squarespace also has state-of-the-art technology powering your site to ensure security and stability. And you know you can trust in Squarespace for your website when millions of people and some of the most respected brands in the world trust in them too. I'm supposed to read a personal anecdote here, but I think what I want to say in this moment is please use Squarespace.
Please use the web.
Save the web by using Squarespace, because you can't beat the ease and simplicity of Squarespace. You get 24/7 online support. You get a beautiful website for only $8 a month. You can get a free domain if you buy Squarespace for the year. So what are you waiting for? Accept your own sense of impending doom and misery. Start a trial with no credit card required and start building your website today. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, please use the offer code VERGE. Get 10% off your first purchase. Show your support for this show, the Vergecast, which I pray you're still listening to regardless of the chaoticness of this advertisement. And I would like to thank Squarespace for their support of the Vergecast. Squarespace, build it beautiful. That was it. I did it. I got through an ad.
Very
Good job.
Kind of stumbled through it a bit. All right, so this is the thing I want to do. So we talked about ad blocking. There is a world in which everything gets better, and I think there's a world in which we move off platforms. Well, remains to be seen. But I think that the more interesting thing to do, because Farhad is here, is just sort of do State of the Union.
All right.
So
you don't want to talk about Amazon's brand new 6-pack of $50 tablets that you can buy?
I'll just take a nap over here. It's fine.
Hype check the Amazon tablets.
One. Like, I don't know. Like, actually, no. Okay,
They're $50 and they're not the worst things
here's what
ever
I'll
made.
say. Okay, fine. I'll give them a 5 because they'll give you like a 6-pack of them, which is cool.
Okay.
I'm actually into the idea that like for schools that'll be really helpul.
The Amazon tablets aren't like fantastic, but they're good enough.
Yeah.
For a lot of things, like I have 2 kids, like I don't want to.
Are you gonna buy the kids' tablet?
I think I just will buy the normal one.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I won't buy any because like our whole house is flooded with tablets. But
Yeah.
But, for people who need tablets, like this is a good one to get. I mean, it's cheap. Why wouldn't you get a $50 tablet? I feel like.
Because you buy a $50 tablet, and the only thing it'll be capable of doing is playing Amazon Video that you downloaded.
I mean, a machine to watch.
That's worth it, right?
Oh, and no, I mean, it does like Netflix and stuff.
Do your headphones work?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine do.
But my headphones are stopped working.
Would you like mine?
Keep arguing about tablets. I'm just gonna wing it. Who knows what I'm listening to now?
All right.
Now I'm just listening to Apple Music.
Can you realize you can't hear
I
us?
told you we were gonna argue about Apple Music.
No, I can definitely hear you. It'd be great if my headphones start working again. But yeah, but of course your house is full. I have like Nexus 7s like just falling out of the woodwork at my house.
Yeah.
Like, but
That's weird.
if you don't, if like, you have children,
Yes.
like this is what you give to children to break.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's like you're not going to give them the $250 or I mean the $399 iPad. Why would you? And like they're not running like sophisticated stuff, right? They're running apps that you can get on the Amazon tablet.
Right, and they're running Netflix.
They're running Netflix and like Amazon videos or like the tiniest, stupidest games, which are also available. Like
Your poor kids.
yeah, I know.
They're like, this game's garbage.
Well, it's Android, so
It's full of ads and weird stuff that's tracking them.
Yeah, exactly. No ad block in Android
Right.
games. So let's just start with Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Give me the quick what's up with Amazon in your estimation right now.
I think they're doing really well. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so the device stuff, they like stumbled a little. I mean, they stumbled in a big way with the phone. The device strategy, I'm still trying to figure out. Like, their idea is to send out a bunch of cheap stuff, and then you'll get Amazon content through it. But otherwise, like their entire e-commerce business is like amazing. I suspected that they would have trouble competing with like on-demand companies like Instacart and like Uber if it ever gets into logistics and stuff. But because, those companies have the advantage of they can get you stuff and they're routing people through smartphones and they can get you stuff faster and like have perhaps wider selection from like your local area. Amazon seems to be competing with them. Okay. They're building out their own like on-demand infrastructure.
Right. And they're doing drones, right?
And they're doing drones. Yeah. That's the long-term path. But also, like, their media stuff seems to be going fine. Like, it's a smart business to spend $100 million or whatever to create some TV shows, but then give those TV shows away because you can like copy them infinitely. So it's like a free gift to someone who subscribes to Prime. And so it seems like a bonus for you when you get Prime, and then Prime makes you buy a bunch of stuff there. It's like a very smart strategy.
Right.
I don't know anyone. I don't like if you're in a certain demographic and like can afford to shop at Amazon all the time. That's like the kind of shopper you are. Like it's become like the most attractive place to shop. And
right.
Didn't Amazon also just make it so that you can download their shows locally?
Yeah.
That for me is like that is cool.
That's something
Netflix,
that
copy that, please.
Well, that's something that. I wonder if Netflix, why they would do that. They're like I guess they said they are not going to do it soon because it's like infrastructure, like it's more difficult and stuff. But Amazon doesn't care, right? Like they just are giving away the content as like a token for
right.
Like,
well, I think it's really interesting about just like what Prime is for Amazon, like the number of services that it now encompasses.
Now the Washington Post.
Huh? Yeah, the Washington
Post. I think that it's just really I think the idea is that if you're paying for Prime, you're definitely going to buy everything from Amazon.
Yeah.
So if they can just keep making Prime more and more attractive to you.
Yeah.
But this thing you're saying about their hardware efforts failing. I mean, the phone, did you see this? The Fire Phone team went to Google to work on Glass.
Yeah. That's just...
Which sounds insane to me.
The tornado of
when
sadness.
Was that?
Huh?
When was that? A week or last week, yeah.
Yeah. The Fire Phone team...
Special Lab 26. Yeah.
That's going to go well.
It went to... They all just went... And who knows what they're going to do there.
But
it's going to go great. The Glass is going to have 4 cameras. It's going to track you in space and give you a headache even more.
But so the phone was like a departure for their whole product strategy, right? Like their idea in the past was to create like stripped down hardware to serve you content at a good price. Like that was the Kindle was expensive, but then it got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to the point that we're like, you're crazy not to buy a Kindle because everything about it was cheaper. And that is also their tablet strategy. And arguably cheap tablets have threatened the iPad. And the iPad, it's like, it would have been a dominant computing platform that something a whole bunch of people would have bought and Apple would have made a lot of profit on if it wasn't for cheap tablets. And Amazon was at the forefront of cheap tablets.
Do you think it... when was the last time you bought... Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you bought a new TV?
Oh, a long time ago.
Right. So I think iPads are just televisions. Like they're on that cycle.
You think they're like... Right, okay.
Right, you buy one, you watch a ton of video on it. You maybe like play some bad games. So like really...
There's no reason to get
it's a video consumption device.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So you don't need like the next version.
Because you're just going to watch Netflix on it anyway.
Yeah, no one needs like all of my friends that have like I have a few friends that have the original iPad and now is the first time that they've ever considered getting a new one.
So I think
because it's gigantic.
Yeah, well, and because it's the new iPad Pro and they can do the whole.
So it's like a 5-year replacement cycle. I mean that makes sense. Like it's sort of on. It's where PCs are too, right? Like you don't really like unless you're like a professional who works with a computer. Like my parents haven't bought a PC in the past 5 years, and like you get one when like the next thing is like substantially better, and your old one is like breaking down.
Right. I think this iPad Pro thing is really interesting because I think the biggest threat to Apple is that they didn't aggressively try to cannibalize the Mac with the iPad. So they're just rolling out multitasking. They're just rolling out split screen. They're just rolling out a proper keyboard situation. They're starting to make
proper.
It. Huh?
I wouldn't call that keyboard proper.
But do you think?
No, I think they made the weird surfacey looking keyboard with the. Did
they made it junky on purpose so that third party people would make something good?
Well, they just needed to make the connector. I think everyone will end up buying the Logitech one.
I'll buy anything other than the one Apple made.
Yeah, Apple made is real bad. And Tom Warren, I don't know if you've seen Tom Warren just like rage tweeting about how ugly it is compared to the Surface one.
Yes.
No,
So-
but they didn't do that, right? Like they're only just now saying, how do we make the iPad a true laptop
I
replacement?
think there was a
particularly for
legitimate
business?
argument that multitasking on an iPad, like that the UI would have been bad, and they needed to get processors fast enough that they could like run multiple apps at the same time. And
Processors maybe, but like the UI is not complicated. You swipe over. It's like Samsung screwed up their first stuff and it was overly complicated, but the UI now is like, it's the obvious thing. You swipe it over. Like the thing that bugs me more than like, waiting for so long is that it's still not truly multitasking to me. Like if I'm going to make the iPad Pro my computer, like I believe it has the power to do everything that this tiny little new MacBook is doing. Right. But what it can't do is let me have 3 apps going at the same time. And like Windows are useful. I like Windows.
yeah, but okay, no, I
doesn't
agree.
have to be Windows, but I have to be able to-
Windows are useful like when you're working, right? Like
Right.
I think they don't think of maybe the iPad Pro, but until now, I don't think they thought of the iPad as like a working machine.
Yeah, they claimed that they did. They said that they did.
Yeah, they're
all
running
the
around
time.
being like, this is for creativity.
But the way they built it suggests that they did.
Right, exactly.
well, but that was their whole strategy, right? Like, they were just like, they're like, this is not just for consumption. And like, what killed them was it was just for consumption.
Yeah.
It seems like we should just start talking about Apple because we were talking about Amazon.
We're already there.
You're already talking about Apple.
I mean,
Yeah. Aren't we always talking about Apple
Hype check Amazon.
Everything we just talked about?
No,
Or it's-
Amazon.
in
oh,
life, in your life?
That's a lot.
Yeah,
Because that's a
that's-
lot. Because
Hype
that's
check's
like
a big job.
their workplace conditions,
Welcome to the
but
desk,
also like
Kirsten.
no, not their workplace conditions. I mean,
No,
you don't
but
have
I
to be
mean,
that
That's kind of a part of the
expansive.
state of their
Not
company.
what they're doing to the economy.
No, I mean, okay.
Wait, aren't Apple's Chinese workplace conditions part of their story too? Or like,
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they
like
are.
who knows what it's like at the TP-Link factory
Yeah.
where they're
Amazon is like
where they're making the
Amazon is
on-hub router for
like
Google.
a 7. Amazon does some things that are amazing. Amazon does
World
some
of no
things that
sevens.
are
Wait, we can't
horrible.
leave the Amazon conversation without talking about the Echo because
yeah.
that's
Oh
my
yeah, you're all about the Echo,
It's the
aren't
best
you?
thing ever.
Yeah,
it's
it's
great.
my
I love Mac. I
favorite.
listen to Mac all day today.
I think that is the future of computers.
I
Like
need to
talking to
spend-
things in your house.
Yeah.
It and like that machine, if it connected to if it controlled my lights and controlled my TV, but it could also understand things like, I tell it to do something and remind me tomorrow, but also add stuff to lists. If it was just like the computer in my house that I could talk to, like the Star Trek computer,
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing.
I think the Echo is a brilliant hardware product connected to a pretty
Subpar
bad
software.
software
Yeah.
service.
I have to spend like all day Saturday figuring out music on my Echo because I'm like, Echo, play me some music, and they're like, okay, and then like one good song, where'd that song come from? And the playlist.
I
And
said
it's
something
like,
I thought was completely. I said one thing that worked, which was I said play some music, and I was like, I'm playing you this. I picked a random Prime playlist. I'm playing it for you, and I was like, 3 songs. I was like, that's pretty good. I was like, Echo, Alexa, I like this playlist, and she was like, that's great. I marked it down, and like 3 days later, I was like, Alexa, play that playlist I like. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, this is the simplest there's one starred playlist in this whole system for you. And like that's the hardware that's brilliant is like the directional microphone and the light that follows you. And like the whole hardware design is brilliant.
It's really fast too. It responds and like it's faster than Siri. Like
Right.
you say Alexa and it like instantly responds in a way that feels like a little bit freaky because you're not used to computers being that quick and like. And the other thing is they're updating it really quickly. Like it keeps getting better, kind of silently in the background. And I use it a lot for kitchen timers.
yeah,
and
that's almost all I use it for.
the other day, like a couple weeks ago, I noticed that it could do multiple timers at the same time.
yeah.
Oh, really?
And it was just.
But they all have the same alarm.
Yeah.
So if you set them pretty close, like if you're like cooking a bunch of stuff, and you're
Right.
like I want one at 5 minutes, and 2 minutes later, like, set another one for 10 minutes. Or like,
You don't
what?
know which one
What is
ringing,
happening?
right? But I bet the next time we try it, like they'll change that. Like it's cool that it just updates you. There's no like
Have you
interface
tried
to
like,
update it.
hey Alexa, say hey pizza to me in 10 minutes?
No.
No.
Maybe that could work. And then she
I will-
just say hey pizza.
I
to
will
me.
say that it is so sensitive that when they do ads on television,
it responds.
Yeah.
it's constantly responding. I know. So that I think is one of the most interesting Amazon products that exist.
Yeah.
And I think they got in the midst of all of their hardware turmoil and letting people go, they got to a very simple idea but a very disruptive idea way before everybody else.
Right. I mean, it's surprising that Google didn't do that.
Yeah.
Or Apple. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that Apple would do because it's like so unusual. It's like a little bit bizarre.
Burn. That's a little bit of a burn.
I mean, Apple's product like future seems fairly predictable, right? Like even the watch wasn't like a huge surprise. This was like a out of left field product.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we were just joking with the on-hub, and everyone's like, "Why isn't the on-hub?" And I think you tweeted about this too. You're like, "Why isn't?"
Yeah.
But I think it's just because they're both cylinders. And
that's why you think
the
about
instinct is to say, like, well, that's a cylinder. Why doesn't it do the thing that? But the router like sits away in
That's
your house,
possible,
right? Like,
Well, no, it's designed to not sit away. It's designed to sit in the center. That's why they made it.
but it doesn't.
Like a
it has
cylinder.
to sit near your cable connection.
That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah. Which I bought a huge giant Ethernet cable so I could move mine to the middle of my house.
yeah, no, I just like the Echo is like it's just sitting in my kitchen. It's
Right.
like plugged in. It
Yeah.
works.
But so I mean,
I should set my Echo next to my on-hub and just have them be like friends.
but
so confusing.
It seems if the Echo idea catches on, if like a home automation catches on, you would imagine that kind of thing would be built into set-top boxes, right? Like into the Apple TV, or
Yeah.
I think Amazon's new Fire TV thing has Alexa in it, right? Like,
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, it does.
right. So
I don't want to leave my TV on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, I get the weird sense that Apple with the Apple TV wants you to leave your TV on. Like, it's not like
I
they
guess
didn't
do.
say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they build
'Cause it
in
has
like
these
the
screen
screensavers that are like super gorgeous in my opinion,
Yeah.
but like they do definitely want you to leave your set-top box on. So
Yeah, it's just really strange. It's like that's like a dream. Like that's like an early 2000s dream of what houses would look like. Like you would walk in and all the screens would be on, showing you paintings.
So maybe
Really?
and then
I
you
don't
would
know.
type, and then you would like speak, and they would all light up.
No, but you could imagine that like the TV could have the screen off, but the audio on, like, and so it responds like Alexa.
why?
So you definitely don't know that it's tracking. you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know that idea died in the early 2000s because like all of my friends, every time I go to a party with like 20 somethings, every like TV has some kind of video or some kind of like thing muted playing, and then there's music playing like for the party.
Yeah.
So like people will do like the like moving art stuff on Netflix, or they'll find like slow-mo videos on YouTube. Like the idea of having a moving art or like moving TV, I think is totally popular.
That idea is
among
cool. No, you're right.
my
But I meant the
generation.
like, it's like a very Back to the Future too, where
It's
you
what
like you walk in and you're like, "What's going on?" And your boss is like, "You're fired," and all your fax machines explode. Like that idea where the screens are just on in your house all the time.
Isn't this like
you're not
what-
there and they're still on is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's crazy.
do you guys remember the stories about like Bill Gates' new house? Like, remember, like in like the 90s where he had all this art, but it was like digital art on like big TV screens that were around his new
Yeah,
house.
yeah,
Like, now
yeah.
it's like a normal thing. Like,
Yeah.
like I imagine that in the future we'll just have like LCDs everywhere.
Right. Yeah, but
Will they still be LCDs?
Or
Will they
whatever,
be
like,
projectors?
very-
Let's
We
be
should-
no, that's
serious.
like a
Screens.
particularly Microsoft dream that everything
Yeah.
will be a projector and a touch surface.
Yeah, we should do a supercut of like all the Microsoft Home of the Future keynotes from CES.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! Yes.
Put 'em all
yes,
together.
Please. Yes,
So-
please.
Into one giant house. Because you could do it all now. All the stuff they promised.
And their vision was that you would have a Windows PC in your basement just like handling it for you.
Yeah.
Which seems not maybe why they failed.
Like next to my water heater. Like
Yeah.
what is
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah. This was like a thing.
HP actually made
The
one
home
of these
server
things.
or
It was the home
something.
server.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a giant tower.
Oh, you
you
didn't
stick
know
in your
this? This is like a
basement.
thing. Like the goal, Microsoft's goal was that you would have basically a mainframe in your basement in a cabinet next to your fuse box or something, and your cable would plug into it and your power would plug into it.
How long ago was this? Like
This is like seriously like 2006, like
Okay.
the
'Cause,
day
like,
before
cloud
the
computing
iPhone
just
came
like
out.
makes this the dumbest sounding.
No,
thing
no,
ever.
seriously. Like, well, it's like cloud computing kind of happened because the phone was so much less powerful than these like mainframe PCs, right? So, like, literally the day before the iPhone came out, Microsoft was like, "What about a mainframe for your basement with like 4 cable card tuners and like 50?" Like, it was ridiculous. And all of that, like Windows Media Center, all that stuff they're peeling it
All out.
Yeah.
They're peeling it entirely out of Windows because nobody wants that stuff anymore. Because
Man, I
instead of
think I kinda
cables,
do
we
when
have
you talk
Wi-Fi
about
connections
it.
to cloud services. Huh?
I want that server in my basement. I want a basement, first of all.
First of all, yeah.
I do miss having a
Basement.
basement.
Do you have a basement?
No.
Oh, because
No, it's not a California thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so in California, you would have like a shed with like a
Right,
Microsoft.
right.
We gotta get you a Microsoft shed. That should be your next
Ooh.
column for the time.
Yeah.
Build it. You should just build like a future home of the '90s now, because all that stuff has got to be
It's
like lying
super cheap,
around.
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
got to be available. You know, CNET just bought a house.
Oh, to
Yeah,
do like
in,
home
in, like
automation
in
stuff?
Kentucky or something.
Wow.
Yeah, they bought a
In Louisville, yeah.
They have a warehouse full of washing machines, and
Yeah.
they just bought a house.
A
Why?
giant
Wait, what's the
house.
washing machine?
For what
Because
purpose?
CNET,
For
like
Internet of Things,
because they
smart
just
home
review
things.
everything.
Oh, I see.
Oh, so they want like a.
So they literally have like a
stage.
warehouse to test appliances in the middle of the country, and they just like literally put up a post. It's like, we bought a house, and it's like, you're just gonna change the door locks on this house like every week. Like that's gonna be awful. Enjoy. Okay, I gotta read this thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of the cloud, SoftLayer builds a cloud built for results. Your business applications and computational workflows are unique, so you deserve cloud resources that meet your specific needs. SoftLayer is one of the only cloud providers that provisions dedicated servers and virtual servers, otherwise known as public cloud, from a single seamless platform. All of it's on demand, all of it's connected to the same open API, all of it is connected to a global private network. And if your shit's crazy, you can scale your workloads up and down quickly and have ample space for your storage intensive tasks. Think about that, Dieter Bohn.
Yeah.
SoftLayer is an IBM company. In fact, IBM uses SoftLayer as its cloud infrastructure foundation for all IBM cloud products and services. So even if you're not looking for infrastructure, you can benefit from SoftLayer because you can just use IBM stuff and you get SoftLayer in the background. It's like buying a Toyota.
Yeah.
They're all Toyotas underneath. You get the benefits of all Toyota resources. I don't know what that means. All of our listeners have the opportunity to get $500 worth of cloud infrastructure by visiting softlayer.com/podcast. You can order bare metal servers. You can put a mainframe in your basement. You can get a virtual server. You can get storage, networking. You can get security services. There's 24 data centers around the world. All of the services are connected to SoftLayer's unique network of networks, which separates public, private, and management traffic, ensuring that your traffic travels more efficiently. So you can automate and control your cloud infrastructure with a granular API, or you can just use the SoftLayer customer portal. Visit softlayer.com/podcast to get started with your $500 off of server, storage, network, and security on a cloud built for results from SoftLayer. Mainframe, Farhad's basement.
Yeah, okay. It's my next thing.
Connected to this cloud. Think about it. All right. That's not so great. Okay, so we vaguely talked.
It's time for Microsoft. We're already halfway there.
Yeah, I feel like we're weaving Apple in and out of this. So let's do Google, Microsoft, and then Apple.
Okay, Google.
Yeah.
I don't know. Google seems in everywhere and competing with everything, and their future looks a little bit. I mean, if we're talking, if our earlier conversation was about the web, right? Like, if the web goes away, like, Google is screwed, right? Like, It's hard to imagine. Like, they make all of their money from this platform, and then search, right? Like, if search moves to something like the OS layer on your phone, that's terrible for them.
Yeah.
iOS users are the most valuable users. They're the ones that advertisers want. And so if you can start searching for stuff, I mean, their saving grace is that Apple doesn't seem very good at this.
Well, they offloaded it to Bing, right?
And so they offloaded it to Bing, but even like the like predictive stuff in the new iOS is not very good and sophisticated.
Yeah. There is one thing that's incredible.
What?
Which is in the recent call list. If you get a call from a phone number that's not in your contacts, it will have already searched through all your email.
Yeah, that's great.
And it'll make a guess at who it is.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Crazy. That's
Wait,
crazy.
you don't like the suggestions? Like, if you scroll left on your home screen and
They're-
get the Siri
They're
suggestions?
the worst.
Oh, really? They're awesome for me.
What?
Well, I mean, do you use
Those giant round icons for like coffee shops you'll
I
never
think-
go to.
Oh, no,
gas
not
stations.
those. Not those. It's that they show me the
Siri,
last...
I live in New York. I do not need gas.
No.
I
It's
don't
not
need
about
gas.
that.
You're
It's
saying the
about,
last apps.
It's about it's
I gotta look
about
at
the
this
last apps, but it's also about if you scroll over the like top section is like the 4 last people that you dealt with in any kind of like messaging or anything.
Yeah.
So
that's
for
not,
me,
they had
that's
that
super
in
valuable.
multitasking before. They just moved it to a different
Yeah,
screen.
but this is faster and easier for me to get to, and it's right where I go when I go to search for like.
I mean, but that's not at all like predictive or anything. It's not intelligent. It's just like the last people you talk to.
Yeah, but I mean that is looking at data and
Well,
then showing me something that I think I might
in
want.
theory,
so that is
that
predictive
list
a little
will
bit.
change depending on time of day.
One of
Yeah.
Siri's suggestions for me in that list of contacts is myself.
Why do you have yourself in your phone?
I don't know.
Why are you texting yourself?
That used to be a thing. You'd always keep yourself in your phone so that you could like.
No,
mark
it's
your
not even
contacts.
that.
Has
It's,
anyone ever actually done
No,
that?
because you got to
It's
beam it
literally
via
an
IR.
email
You got to
address.
line up your phones and then beam it. over.
Nilay.Patel at sbnation.com, which is an email address I received in 2011 from this company when it was called. I don't know why that's there. I haven't interacted.
That's weird,
My
yeah.
email address doesn't even exist.
I don't know. They're
Siri
good
just
for me.
wants to remind me of the good old days. Like that's what Siri's after right now. It's like, remember you were young.
That's what Facebook does.
You
to me.
you were idealistic. I will say that I don't need to get gas.
Right?
But there are times that you do.
No, but it should know those times.
It's like, are you moving in a car?
Right.
I should be able to.
Actually,
I
it should be able to
long
know if
press
you're
on
moving in a
that.
car.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
phones can tell that, right? I mean, I think, but if search in people were holding it up. What happened?
I just heard a noise.
Someone's phone
That was my
notifications
phone.
have been on the entire time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me. That's who I am.
Search in iOS, like a bunch when they unveiled it at WWDC, a bunch of people were saying this is going to be a Google killer. I don't think it's going to be a Google killer.
No.
But if they improve it to a certain extent, it could be bad for Google.
Right. What do you think of the Google Alphabet situation?
I don't know. I thought it was a big deal at the time, but then the more I think about it, the more I wonder if it's just like a formalization of a structure that had already been in place and may not change anything. I mean, I guess since then they've done some things like they hired a new person for the car project, and it looks like the car project will become a bigger thing. Maybe they'll allow those other projects to become products in a way that maybe they've been hampered at some point. But it doesn't seem like it's going to change the fundamental thing they need to do that they've been trying to do for a while is to come up with a thing to pay for stuff after search goes away.
Right.
Or, alongside it, some new huge business. And, they have time, but it's not clear if any of these other things is going to be, the blockbuster for them.
Right. I mean, I don't think search is going away. And I think this is kind of what you're getting to, right? Like the app-based search or the home screen-based search, the OS layer search, it's got to get... to compete with Google, it's got to be as good as Google. It can't just be slightly more convenient because everybody knows to just press that Safari icon or open a Google app and get there.
But so a lot of the searches I do are navigation searches, right? And if I do a lot of navigation searches, that's already gone because I'm just loading up apps. If I'm doing research searches, like let's say I want to find movie times and stuff, those aren't hard searches to do, and Apple could do them. And then you could imagine a whole bunch of intelligent automated stuff moving toward things like Echo or Siri, searches that you used to do on your computer, you may have looked up your doctor to make an appointment or something, and then now you can just tell some smart assistant to do it or something like that. I imagine that we'll get to a future where AI and will be so good that we will have to search less.
Yeah, but that's Google's feature. Right? I mean, that's that was Google Now for a minute,
right? No, I think Google is well positioned to do that, but there are all these other they have to compete with Apple for this.
Right.
Do you think Google Now should give Google Now a name? Everybody else, does Siri
I totally
and
feel like it
Cortana
needs
and
a
whatever?
name.
Why do you think the name should
I
be?
think
you
it
mean
needs
a
name.
personality?
I think it needs a
Yeah.
personality name because if you think about all the other ones, it's trying to simulate you dealing with a personal assistant or you dealing with another person, and it's going to make you more willing to it's weird to say empathize with an AI, but it's going to make you more willing to kind of accept that as a personality if it has a name.
Right.
I wish it had a name because I like Google Now. It's my favorite one to use, but I wish I could just be hey, Greg
it should
or
be
whatever.
Alfred.
Greg.
It should be Alfred.
Greg is the worst
Batman's
name.
Greg.
Greg is
good,
It
yeah.
should be
Google
Batman's
Greg.
butler.
Greg is really good.
I just named it.
In
It's
a
done.
particularly very
Well, it has to be
non-threatening
ungendered,
way.
right? It can't be a
Well,
male or
I think
female.
it should
has
be
to
male.
Oh, no, it has
should
to be
totally
gender.
a
Oh,
dude.
really?
Yeah,
I have a
because there's already
question, though.
2 women.
Has there ever been?
No, that's not true. You can turn Siri into a boy.
Yeah,
and you
Siri-
can turn it British. You can have a
Yeah.
British boy Siri.
Here's my question, and it's just a real question. Maybe you don't have to answer it now. Just think about it. Has there ever been a threatening Greg? Because you need a non-threatening name.
When
Like,
has there
Greg,
ever been a threatening Greg?
I'm just asking.
Tweet me a
mean,
threatening
like,
Greg.
I-
I
I'm
don't
I'm
know.
sure
what
there
threatening
must have
Gregs.
been a serial killer named Greg.
Right? He's like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
I am
Oh,
threatening.
God.
You're let
There's
him
gotta
into your
be an
house because
NFL
he's named
player,
Greg.
like
And then
Greg Jennings.
who?
Yeah, he was.
He's not that threatening.
But he's just a football player. Like it's fine. Like of course,
Greg, there's no Greg the Terrible.
we used to have an accountant here named Greg. He was vaguely threatening because he controlled my expense reports. Like I don't know. Okay, so we should do very quickly. You have 2 minutes left with us. Apple. Just give us.
Again?
Well, no, we
I thought we talked about Apple.
We did iPad in the context of Amazon.
I mean, Apple's easy. Like Apple's future is the iPhone, and there's nothing's gonna.
Do you think Google? Here's my question. The real question: if the web starts dying, do you think Google should just make a phone, like not do this Nexus garbage, but like make its own phone and say like this is the Google phone. Buy this one instead of the Apple phone, because right now they're just dancing. Right, they're waiting for Samsung to do it for them, and Samsung isn't going to do it for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, not going to do it well.
And like Google should Chromebooks are like a hilarious joke. Like the obvious move for Google is to say like we're making our own operating system that runs on our phone and our PC.
Do you think Google can make a hardware software combination that can compete with the iPhone? Like, do you think that it could be, like, because I think they can make something that's good enough, but at this point, there are so many people who are like entrenched in the iOS ecosystem, and Apple's future is to like make that ecosystem better and better and like harder to go away from, that it would take a lot to get people away from that whole ecosystem into a new thing. I mean, Google's ecosystem is the only sort of competitor there is to Apple, but it's still like if you live in an iOS,
a bunch of Microsoft people are tweeting at you right now.
Yeah, well, even if you accept that you can't convert the current Apple people because they're going to be too established into Apple, there's still plenty of room to like get new customers and like other areas.
I feel like
they could do it.
I feel like the smartphone wars are over and Apple has won.
But they
didn't though.
They
have less market share.
Right.
Yeah, they have. I understand that they make more profit.
That doesn't matter. Like they have the reason that we talk. The reason we think about
it matters if you're talking about Apple stock, but otherwise it doesn't matter.
Like, the reason we worry about like content blocking on iOS is because like all of the business of entire digital economy occurs on this one device. Like these are the most valuable people, and there is a future in which all those people who are running $50 Android phones like become the future of the tech industry and like become valuable and like you want to sell them stuff. But I think those people are going to graduate to iPhones. Like, and that economy, like it's really hard to pull away from iOS once you're in it. Like that's what the whole Apple TV is for. That's what like, perhaps what the watch is for if it like becomes a thing that people want. Like, it's just going to tie you further and further into the super, super profitable device for them. And they don't need to get everyone. I mean, they just need to get like the wealthy 30% of the population.
I just think that there are plenty of people who it's like a new thing syndrome, right? Like people just want new stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty of people who would take a very serious look at a real like high-end Google phone or a really high-end like Google laptop that could do more than just run Chrome.
But I don't even know, how do you improve upon a smartphone to this point that like you're willing to switch? Like smartphones are smartphones. Like they do things really
People switch all the time.
Yeah,
no, I don't think people switch.
Oh, people
Google
switch
switches
all
phones
the
every
time.
or Google. I just called Dieter Google.
Wow.
No.
And we're done. That's it. That's our show, everybody. That has been
Dieter
I'm
has
Nilay
been
Patel.
renamed Google.
This is Google. Farhad Manjoo is here. All right, are we really done? Google, do you have anything left to say?
Oh my God.
By the way, that's what they should name Google now, Dieter. They should usually
that would be
switch.
great. Dieter would be good.
Everyone would call it Dieter.
But there is, by the way, there have in history been threatening Dieters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Threatening Gregs? No one's provided.
But maybe that's
yet.
the
Caitlin just
thing.
provided you with
No,
the
it's
threatening Greg.
it's a bunny.
Wait,
Come on.
Greg the bunny?
Yeah,
No,
it's literally a bunny.
not threatening.
No.
All right. Do you want to take us? Home?
I would love to take us home, but I have to find the home taking
Oh my God.
information.
All right, here.
No,
You got
Are
it.
you
got
doing
it.
the engagements? Just
got
want me to
it.
do them.
no, before I take
Farhad,
us
I don't know
home.
if you know this. We are terrible at starting and ending the show.
We're worse at ending the
The
show.
middle's great.
The middle is mediocre as well.
The middle is the middle. And also, our podcast producer, Jorge, is
just screaming,
incredibly
close it.
aggressive.
All right, end the show.
man.
End the show.
I can't end the show because I have one
Wait,
more ad to do.
okay, while you're doing no, that comes at the very end.
Okay.
At the very end.
I think
Wait,
you're wrong.
you need 2 sentences about Microsoft, real quick. What are they?
Oh,
Dropbox
I don't
just
even know.
froze my computer.
I
Microsoft
don't even know.
could do really well if people paid attention to them. I don't know. HoloLens looks cool.
Yeah, that's true. But man,
If you wanna-
it's that they have like a Microsoft has a real insecurity issue right now.
Yeah.
All right.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, there are a few places you can do it. The most obvious place is at Verge. But did you know that there's an account called at Verge Cars, which is all about Verge transportation? It's true. It's the truth. You should follow it too. We're also on Snapchat. You can see Kirsten do crazy hijinks there. That is The Real Verge. And of course, we are also on iTunes. If you go to itunes.com/The Verge, you will find us. You'll find a link to go give us 5 stars, which obviously you should do. You'll also find a couple other podcasts that we make here, including Verge ESP, What's Tech, and I don't want to give anything away, but
we're
there might be another one
next week.
Yeah.
It's going to be something.
It's going to be something.
Yeah.
You're really, really, really going to want to listen to it. Like, really, really.
Maybe.
Like, totally, really.
Like, if you're the sort of person that routinely wastes an hour listening to this show,
Yeah.
I think you're going to be really into that show. But if you're the sort of person, I don't know, that
That's not listening to
That's
this
not
show right
listening
now.
to this show, then
they're
find
not
those
listening
people
to this
individually
show.
and make them listen to that
On
show.
Twitter, I am Backlon Nilay is Reckless. Farhad is F. Manjoo.
that's right.
Sweet. Kirsten is
Yeah,
Kirsten
and I'm
Frisina.
at Kirsten Frisina.
Yeah.
It's
You
hard
get
to
the
spell.
at.
Good
The rest of
luck.
us don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
Wait, I got to read one more. Wait.
Oh,
And we just like to thank Braintree. This episode of Vergecast was brought to us by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app, searching for a simple payment solution, just please try Braintree. One simple integration. You can offer your customers every way they want to pay, like literally everything. Have you seen their billboards? It's like out of control. Just a list of other payment methods. So learn more and get your first 50,000 transactions fee-free. Go to braintreepayments.com/Vergecast. That was our show. Oh, and go to iTunes. Give us 5 stars. Did you already say that
I already
part?
said that
All
part.
right, whatever. And just Braintree. Just get it. The end.
Google.
Google.